Good evening, everybody. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Tony. How are you doing?
I'm very good. It's dry here just now. I'm reading where everyone's from, and Shashi's telling us about lovely sunny Aberdeen.
We've had sun, we've had thunderstorms, we've had rain. It's been an interesting day.
Well, let's hope the rain doesn't delay any of our talks tonight, like the football game last night.
That was a hot topic today in school, I must admit. The look of sheer horror when I told kids that I didn't actually watch the game. They were horrified.
Well, another good result.
Indeed.
And we've seen some familiar names and some new names in the list as people are welcoming and saying hi to everybody. It's nice to see Ian there, student probationer. Good luck with the probation year, Ian.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can pop into the message box which school you're going to. If you know that, I think they'll all know that now. But good luck with that probation.
Seems like a long time ago. Someone from south of Edinburgh.
Yeah, so it's a good bunch. And what we'll do is we'll just have a blether for a couple of minutes before getting into our talks for this evening. And we've got 3 talks. I think there was 4 last night. I wasn't able to connect last night. I was at a concert, but there was 4 talks last night. Tonight is a wee bit less packed. We've got 3 really interesting chats. I'm interested to hear about all 3 topics. Darren is going to talk first of all about his cybersecurity NPA. He's done a lot of work, like huge amounts of work, developing resources for that NPA. Then we've got Sara from St Ninian, who's going to be talking about her dress code initiative and how she's closing the gender gap in her school. And then Patty, who's just talking about the hot topic, artificial intelligence, teaching it at school and maybe using it as well. I don't know. Have you been using ChatGPT and variants, Mark?
It's definitely on my list because I keep on reading how it can write questions for me. And I must admit, that's a big thing. There's only so many questions you can come up with. And so I do mean to sit down and have a go at it. Kids were talking today about how one of their younger brothers were generating art with it.
There's Mid-Journey is a good one for that. I think that's now more paid, but there's lots of things you can do with it. But even just ChatGPT, it's the speed of the development.
I need to play about with those prompts and see what it can do. It'd be definitely interesting.
I think we'll talk about that maybe more once Patty's online in the third talk tonight. But certainly I've been using it for, like, you can, if you ask for context for questions, if you ask for context for databases. So I was asking for one for, so for a relational database for higher or advanced higher, 4 or 5 tables. So they can come up with some context. Then you can ask for like the create code to actually make those. Then you can ask for random or sample insert statements to actually build the database. Then you can ask questions, and suggest queries that you could run on it. So that it all looks good. The code's all
you know yourself. It's a context for a question. It's the hard one, is it? Once you've got a good context, you can usually get some good mileage from it.
And Shashi has said there, it's become his constant companion in his computing lessons.
Cool.
And of course, there's always the caveat. You've got to think about the accuracy and the relevancy of the content. Can't take all at face value, but certainly it's been a great time saver for me.
We were discussing that and online assessment today with my kids who are determined that exams aren't the way to go. And then we said, and then one of them mentioned AI, and that just put the cat amongst the pigeons completely.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like the come coursework time.
Yeah,
that might work.
If it can follow our random design, it'll be doing well.
Yeah, as long as it can use 2 arrays, should be fine.
But there weren't 2 arrays; there just happened to be 2 arrays now. How are we doing for people? How are we doing? Loads more. That's always good. Loaded a few more, I think.
And this is the first time using the software, but I think we're ready to introduce Darren and let him start.
Thanks, guys.
Darren, if you don't know him, he works up in Inverness, and he kind of started and helped organise what was called at the time the Highland Drive.
Yeah.
From this nationwide resource bank. Darren will be able to tell you how many hundreds of teachers are connected. And
seamless transition, Tony. You think we'd set this up? If the backstage could share my screen, and hopefully you'll all be able to see what I can see. If you can just confirm that to me, because I'm blind to this. Okay, I'm Darren Brown. I am computing teacher, PT of IT up at Inverness High School. I've been teaching computing for 20 years. Done lots of development work. I suppose the question is, why am I talking about cybersecurity? Because a few years ago, I decided to try and bring in the MPA, and I did a lot of work and a lot of background in CPD to try to get that running. In terms of Computing Science Scotland and STACS and things like that I'm involved in, I run the Computing Science Scotland shared drive. All the materials I show you tonight that I've made are in there and available to you. It is from humble beginnings, about 4 computing teachers across Highland. We now have well over 550 computing teachers who are sharing and collaborating, hopefully, and putting materials in there. So there's various stuff, obviously higher and National 5. If you want access, I'll say this a few times tonight, you can just email me, darren.brown@highland.gov.uk. If you just send me a Google account, some Glow accounts do work, or you can DM me on Twitter. You'll be able to find me there. So cybersecurity, I think the big thing is that in schools, there's always a lot of talk of pathways, and there's a lot of frustration because, in the second term, we talk about what else can we offer our kids and what else can we do. And then as a computing teacher, you ask the next question is can we get some more staffing? Can we have a bit more time in the curriculum? And the answer is always like, oh, we don't know. You might get a probationer if we find out in May. And you're like, well, that's not enough time to actually develop a course. So here's 6 or 7 ideas for courses that would be great. So I decided to try and have a go at the cybersecurity because I think it's a really great topic in its own right. I know there's lots of jobs in my area, across the country, around the globe in cybersecurity, and there's good pathways to college and university courses up at UHI and wider afield. So I decided to go with cybersecurity. I knew there would be issues already. I was worrying about assessment and IT setup and things like that. But I also decided to start in the BGE. I got a lot of schools saying in my local area, can you help us? We're going to start computing. I'm like, yeah, I can. And then they'll say things like, we're going to jump in at National 5. And I'm like, I'm a bit concerned about that, guys. You need to have some kind of foundation. And they'll say, the classic line of, oh, but the kids are good on the computer and, they're okay at maths. And often then the results aren't great and they say, oh, well, we tried computing, didn't work. So same with cyber. I actually brought in some cyber in S1. I think what we always try and do is have a little bit of real world discussion, a little bit of theory, and making sure there's plenty of practical stuff. So one of the first things we do in first year is we use Cybersecurity Challenge UK Cyberland for a couple of periods where they go around the little town and there's various little things teaching about firewalls and Wi-Fi set up. The intro to malware, it's not actually loading at the moment. That one's not a bad little kind of run through things like WannaCry. Actually does a little run through on the screen, shows them what it looks like and things like that. The other thing we do are the fantastic resources from Craig Steele and his team, the Cyber Skills Live. A lot of people now know about how to rob a bank and things like that. So we kind of try and tie that into a few lessons that we do, a little bit of theory, a little bit of things to talk about. I mean, Craig's stuff is so good. It's like real world, and it's it's working through proper things. It's fun, it's engaging, but it's accessible to the kids at that age. During lockdown, I did the course through Abertay, where I did the ethical hacking course they had, and it was funded through Education Scotland. It was a little bit more advanced than I thought, but it certainly took us through Azure and it did some proper hacking stuff, which is probably what I needed. I mean, we're quite hypocritical ourselves when we're saying to kids, keep going, be resilient, have a growth mindset. But, I needed to come out of my comfort zone a little bit because I must say, I hadn't done any cybersecurity before this. I also later on did the Introduction to Cybersecurity Award through UHI, which is online, and I believe it's running again this year. So you can actually apply, and it takes a couple hours a week for about, I think it was about 12, 14 weeks. But you can do it online. It's people all over the country. And that was a really good basic starter for me in terms of looking at stuff like cybersecurity and just some of the real basics up to some level 5 stuff, which was really, really good. So it's worth having a look at that course if you're really interested. I think what we looked at initially was there are materials, the worst shiny glossy materials sent out to all schools, which are available in PDF format from the SQA. So to be fair, there were materials there to begin with to try and give you a chance to kind of get going. What you will see is that there are learner notes, which is kind of what I used as my starter point. I used these as my starter point for kind of develop my own materials. I'm not going to lie and say like I created everything myself, but there are materials there and there are theory and stuff, and you can use them as PDFs. There's also practical introduction for ethical hacking, so it does show you some generic tasks, and there's even worksheets. So the tasks that I've built together mainly come from those worksheets. This digital forensic stuff's even better because the practical tasks, there are actually files and stuff for them, and it's the same for the data security and things like that. I kind of then decided that I was probably going to aim at level 5. There was a number of reasons I decided to aim at level 5. One was that I was trying to protect my hires a little bit because I was worried if I offered level 6 straight away, my hire numbers might drop a little bit further, which I think is probably another whole discussion topic in itself. So we offered level 5 to mainly S4s, but we were quite lucky because some of the seniors who were maybe not ready for hire could come and try the level 5 course there. I mean, I was worried about the IT setup and stuff like that, but I thought I would give it a go. And I don't know. I mean, maybe the future of assessments will be more modular courses where you can pick and choose various units. I then went in and made sure that we actually started level 3 kind of course in S3 with electronic materials, which again are in the drive. We followed the same units as the MPA, so there's a couple of lessons on data security, there's 4 or 5 lessons on ethical hacking, and a couple of lessons on digital forensics. So what we did there was we created chapters that the kids could work through. Again, the theory's in there, they type their answers in there. There's usually spaces for screenshotting practical work, which is, I'll show you that again when we do the next kind of part. But I think that was important. I think, again, you have to give them a bit of a taster. You have to give them a little bit of a bridge towards moving towards the MPA. It's trying to make it fun and give them a bit of confidence, but also show them the realism of it and say, look, this is kind of what you're going to have to work towards. But all those kind of lessons are there. It was about an 8-week block. But we did, this is probably the point where I would mention Try Hack Me, which has saved me a lot of time and a lot of pain. I thought the ethical hacking level 5 was going to be the hardest thing to do, but I was wrong, because we have things like Try Hack Me where you can run a virtual machine in here that you can use as a victim, and you can even run a Kali Linux attack box. So it actually, I'll not do it just now because we're streaming it all, but it actually splits the window in 2, and there are these walkthroughs and instructions and little questions as they go that kind of fill them in and they do the steps. But on the right-hand side of the screen is an actual Kali Linux machine running, so they can run all the kind of hacking tools that are in there. And this is Eternal Blue Hack. You could do this as a level 5 almost. So I'll talk about Try Hack Me again later because it's amazing and it's got a great amount of stuff in it. Digital forensics in the 3rd year, I had to create a whole scenario robbery. It was a bit like writing an episode of Line of Duty or something. I had to kind of keep track of where things were and who did what and where was this person at this time. But again, the kids really, really enjoyed that. Created files for them to go through and look at, in chat histories and things like that. So it took a little bit of time, but again, we did a proper little digital forensics examination. We then kind of move on to what I did for the cybersecurity level 5 MPA. So there is an outline plan. Again, this is in the drive. The level 6 stuff, I did map it out just in case, because I could have had kids doing level 6. So I could direct them to the correct PDF pages and tasks and things like that, but it never really came around because we were still really working on trying to get the IT set up. Same as before, really. What we've got here is we've got electronic chapters. If you've seen my National 5 and higher work, we have electronic chapters in Google Docs, but they shift around a little bit. So what I did with the cybersecurity stuff is I started creating them in Google Slides, but still making them electronic workbooks. So the idea is that the stuff from the kind of booklets that I took out, the PDFs, theory's all in there, but also the tasks. So the worksheet tasks are built in a slide, so they type their answers in. Also, anytime they do any kind of practical tasks, so there's another one of Craig's kind of lessons, they take a screenshot at the end. The idea being that the theory's in there, the illustrations are in there, the answers are in there, and any screenshots to prove that they've completed certain tasks that are online is all in there. So it's all in one place. that's really, really useful, because at the end of it, you kind of have a neat textbook. What I've also got for this, just to be safe, and this helps me when I'm teaching, is a teacher version. So I have managed to go through the level 5 stuff, and I have managed to type in answers for all the tasks that are there, so that I can use that in conjunction when near the end, if I want to summarise stuff or give them a bit of help or things like that. So every chapter is created has the e-workbook kind of thing that we post on Classroom, and they each get a copy of it. And there's also a teacher answer version. I made homeworks, Google Form self-marking quizzes for every single chapter as well. So you'll see in here, there's lots of chapters just now. They self-mark. You have to check them a little bit. I mean, if you decide to go down the solar route, they can do a multiple choice test. So a lot of them are multiple choice or checkbox, multiple answer, or, you know, short kind of answers and things like that. So did that for every single chapter as well, which is handy if they're studying for the final assessment type thing. I mean, I would say one of the big things, and certainly SQA and Education Scotland would say to you, one of the biggest things you should look at is just the actual unit specs, because I think there's a little stress about what do I have to do to assess this. But if you can cover the unit specs, they're quite accommodating in terms of what you can do. I think they're aware that it's difficult to run the setup, so the unit specs were quite important. There were ASPs, there were assessment support packs available. And what I did was I took a few of those and I actually turned them into electronic documents. So for the data security unit, there's one about somebody leaving an advertising firm and what they've got access to stuff. So what does that kind of entail? So it's a bit of a case study scenario thing. The second practical part for data security level 5 is Wi-Fi settings. Now this is where it gets a bit interesting, because none of that was in the actual notes. So I had to create a 6th chapter that did a little bit about Wi-Fi router settings and where to go and all the rest of it. To assess that, it was a bit of juggling. I had a few Raspberry Pis, and I had basically a router that wasn't even online, and they would just access it and they would show me the settings, and then they would go in and fill in their pro forma to explain ways that they would make hardware, software a little bit better in terms of setting up and things like that. So I would say all in all, that took about a week to do the assessments for that. And it was a lot of juggling because they were all working on their business case study while they were kind of juggling the rest of it. Ethical hacking, I think, was the bit that did scare me the most. Again, it's got the exact same. It's got chapters and teacher answer versions. Certainly Try Hack Me kind of saved me with that. I tried Raspberry Pis joined together and I could communicate between them, but then I was like, well, what am I hacking? I tried Windows Azure, like they use at Abertay, and I got it set up, and there are templates, but the costings were not as cheap as I was told. Like, even had the pupils were allowed to remote in from their Chromebooks, so they could actually remote into a Windows XP machine and a Kali Linux machine. It's just the costs were a bit prohibitive in what we were doing. But I mean, you can see here with Try Hack Me, a lot of this stuff is free rooms, but they call them rooms, but it's all the same as that blue one that I showed you. It's all got kind of walkthroughs and steps. And I'd say what saved me a lot was there's a lot of people on YouTube, cybersecurity experts, who've actually done walkthroughs of the rooms as well, which is really, really helpful. So like Nmap, we have a little go with that in S3, but that's vital in terms of here. And then you can see, you can just search for the ones that are free. I mean, I've tried to make sure that everything in my course at the moment is completely free. I don't want to put anything in there and say, people, you can deliver this course if it's going to cost. But there are literally hundreds, well, 600 rooms, it says here. So they're really worth having a play around with. But the same idea, materials are the same, screenshots, practical tasks, things like that, videos, links to the videos. It's all tied into the same thing. I mean, I've tried to make it a bit more interactive. There's lots of links to articles and YouTube videos, and even in the data security where there's less practical, I've got links to things like the IDEA Award and things like that I get the kids to do. So yeah, the ethical hacking setup's interesting. There's also Hack the Box, which is not too bad, but I found Try Hack Me was a little bit easier to get going with. I should thank Education Scotland again, because they did give quite a few schools who bid for it like premium education access to Try Hack Me, but it is quite expensive. So again, I don't know how viable that is going forward. Again, a little bit thing that's a bit annoying with the SQA stuff is the assessments just say things like your teacher will make up a scenario in a system. And I'm thinking, I've only just learned the basic terminology, but I'm supposed to create a website and a system that is vulnerable and ready to be hacked by all these tools, and I don't even know what I'm doing. So they do give you a scenario for the ethical hacking, which is this cosmetics company. So there's like this thing here, which is like a massive contract that they go through and pick out and fill in bits. But there's not that much in there. Again, then we did that electronic and they had that on paper. And then there is actually a pro forma of them going through the various passive reconnaissance, active reconnaissance kind of tasks. I would say I maybe went overkill on that. But again, because I'm not 100% sure, I wouldn't say it's that clear what is required. I probably went too far. I would maybe cut that down a bit. And I need to thank somebody, because somebody made whatever they're called, cosmetics company website. I found it, and it's got loads of stuff on it and things that are being leaked and stuff like that by the security experts. So that was really, really handy. And what I used for the assessment was the Blue Room. I actually used the Blue Room, so they go in and do the Eternal Blue hack. But I know there's a certain user in there that I've kind of pointed them towards to go and find a file. So that's part of the thing of them actually getting in the access and finding a file and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I did it. There are note versions of these. The mad red notes is basically me saying, this is how I did it. And believe me, I did this for my own benefit for like this year or whatever I need to use. So I have tried to kind of map out, because there's a lot of kind of to and fro and try to work out where the kids have to go and what tools they have to use. But certainly that took about 2 weeks. I mean, again, 2 weeks for assessment and doing the theory. I mean, it is a level 5 course. For if you're used to National Flag, you're thinking that's not too bad. I know some of the level 5 MPs, you're thinking I could assess that in a period or two. There's not a lot of consistency along that, but we did that as well. Digital forensics, exactly the same again. I'm not really going to show you anything in there. The problem with digital forensics is there are a lot of Windows tools in the booklets. I think people would start telling you not to look at the booklets, but you want to try and use the proper tools. And of course, USB access, which, to be fair, that was the biggest thing. I mean, I did enjoy it. There is a document that comes with those PDFs, which is the Educator's Guide, and I did enjoy sending the appendice that said, here is the stuff that your IT need to set up. And I thought I'd love to be in the room when my IT department open it up and start reading all the stuff that I'm asking for. I knew it was never really going to happen, but I'll be honest, they did help me. They eventually built, they actually gave us 5 laptops, me and another school shared them. So it was even more of a juggle, because we had to juggle who had the laptops at what times, and we had to juggle when the kids could do the kind of practical stuff. But there are some try-hack me rooms for digital forensics. I think there need to be a bit more, but I'll talk about portfolio approach and stuff later on. As I said, the practical stuff, there's files given. I just, I'm all for a portfolio approach and going through try-hack me, but I think the problem is like, I feel like I need to teach stuff properly. I have to let them use the proper tools. So although I'm delighted they might talk about portfolio approach and doing online tasks, for me, I'm like, I need stuff to teach. I need actually proper stuff to do. So we got the 5 Windows laptops. We had old laptops, but by the time the council realised that if they were actually going to put Windows on these machines, it was going to be so expensive. So they actually just bought us 5 laptops that we could stand alone. We could use the USB ports. We could install all the forensic software we needed and stuff like that. Again, there was no scenario really. There was a little talk about drug dealers and things. So I made a whole story a bit like my robbery one in S3 about Pokemon cards being stolen. And yeah, I had to make folders and fake files, and I had to make like social media kind of fake posts and stuff for them to kind of go through and analyze. But the same sort of thing, they use the basic tools to do a pro forma, they fill it out. That took about a week or maybe just over a week to assess. So that wasn't too bad as well. And the kids enjoyed that one, actually. They liked the forensics and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a whole heap of stuff in there, and there's an awful lot. But, I'm all for me putting in the effort and the time and working out what are all the best things and helping people map out the try-hack me stuff that they would want to use with that. The setup and the assessment is what puts people off the most. I think a lot of people say cybersecurity is a great MPA, and it's definitely something we should all be doing more. You can battle through. Portfolio approach, I would be delighted with that. I think my argument is that, again, I'm a bit annoyed that every teacher in Scotland's to go to their own classroom and make up their own pro forma and to go through and map tasks. I'm like, why are we not collaborating on this? SQA, Education Scotland teachers, why are we not coming up with a pro forma with a list of the learning objectives for every bit and linking tasks? And if you know the kid can do that by themselves and they've proven that, then you can tick it off. I just find it a little bit strange that we're all kind of guessing, we're all making assessments and to make scenarios and all this kind of stuff, when there should be a kind of equal access. Anybody who wants to teach this course should be able to teach it. It's not fair across Scotland. You look at things like esports just now. It's not really fair if, one or two schools have the top NPCs and can offer level 6. And at the moment, a lot of people I'm speaking to are talking about offering level 4 esports because, but they're just setting out a basic kind of, this is what you need. And everybody's like, well, I'm never going to have that. And I do think there should be fairer assessments. There should be more assessment stuff. The Microsoft Team channel, if you're on there, is really good. Scott Hunter is brilliant from Education Scotland. He's very approachable. He's working a little bit with TriHackMe, and he's, we're trying to see what else we can do. We're talking about people collaborating, and hopefully more people might want to come on board and help us share stuff and look at it. And, let's, particularly going forward, why are we all still doing our own crazy workload when we should be sharing stuff more, and we should be doing the best, creating the best resources collectively, and we should be looking for the best learning teaching approaches, and we should be sharing what are the best tools and stuff that everybody can use and make it properly fair. So it's worth having a look on there. I'm currently working on level 6 stuff because I'm obviously mad because there was times through the level 5 stuff and thinking, why am I trying this? This is crazy. I don't have to do this. I could just sit and do my lovely National 5 that I know. But I'm going to try and do assessments in software and various stuff with systems. It is a great course, and cybersecurity is a much needed course, but I think it is a little bit of this is all these MPAs that come flying out. There is a need for more than just some skeletal words and then teachers to go away and work out the content and the teaching and the software and the assessments themselves. I do think there needs to be a bit more joined up thinking with that. Certainly, if you want access to the Computing Science Scotland Drive, as I said, you can just email me, darren.brown@highland.gov.uk with a Google account. You can DM me on Twitter. I'm at Inverness High CS, I think. Before you move anything, copy it, please. Make a copy before you move it. You can tell that I've been through that a lot, but we're happy to add more people, and I hope we get more collaboration. You can download stuff into Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's, again, something that we should collaborate on. I'm a bit selfish in the fact that we are fully Google and we've got Chromebooks and PCs and all that. So everything I make is in Google. So really, maybe we should be collaborating, and, you have to download the stuff and tidy it up a little bit before it's ready to be used. But, I look at things like STACS, which is fantastic. It's, it's homegrown people and it's grassroots teachers. It makes such a difference when it's them sitting in front of you saying, this is what I did, and I could do it, and it worked, and you get so enthused. And the same with Computing Science Scotland stuff. I'm delighted with the number of people involved in the drive and more people want to share stuff. So please collaborate, please share, please get in touch. I think change will come when we work together. Hopefully there's more and more of a push for computing science because we seem to have the most MPAs in the world, but we have the least amount of staff and time in the curriculum. But I do look forward to working with people. I've droned on far enough. I'll see if there's any questions. I'm blind here and I can't actually see.
I think one question to get you going, Darren. I think Shona Burton asked, what did you use to create the fake social media posts?
I literally just typed them up. I think there's a couple of websites where you can do a kind of pseudo Twitter, like pseudo
kind of thing, is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's something else. I mean, you're not cool enough to use social media, to be honest. And then you have to pretend to be put on all the role of these characters that you've got. It's difficult.
Yeah, I think Ian Morris.
Did you ever use Wireshark? I have used it through TriHackMe. There are a couple of TriHackMe rooms using Wireshark. I think that might come in handy level 6 because certainly there's things like Network Miner.
Another Q&A tab. Sorry, I think I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not easy, and it's great that we have so many options, but I think the MPAs have to. We need a little bit more help in terms of having them set out. I don't think it's fair where people are. I mean, a lot of people are scared to do the MPAs in the first few years because they think, oh, this is going to take me hours and hours and hours, and I'm kind of fighting alone here. So I would like more collaboration. I think more SQA, Education Scotland, and teachers together doing the development would be a huge thing. I see Ian Simpson there. I have to thank Ian. He gave me lots of stuff. Yeah, then he's sharing his resources. I was plugging you, Ian. You didn't have to do that.
Shameless plug for Ian there.
Yeah, sorry, I've hit people with lots, but yeah, CSS Drive, just message. I'll put my email in the comments and stuff like that. And thanks for having me, guys.
No, thank you. STACS HQ were reminding us that today is National Thank a Teacher Day. So I'll start with saying a big thank you to Darren, first of all, for the work on the drive, hearing from someone.
Is there any monetary supplement with that? Thank you.
Just sheer respect, pure respect, worth more than money.
Allegedly.
But just disappointing to hear in the chat that what a local authority is blocking Google Drive.
I've seen that from a few.
I never even got
that in our region.
Last night when I was hosting, I waited right till the last 3 minutes before I mentioned DPIA.
And then walked away from it.
All I'm doing is I'm throwing that grenade in there now, guys, and then I'm disappearing. So good luck.
But the more stories I think that we can tell to STACS HQ, they do meet regularly with Scottish Government representatives. So it's just hammering that message. I think that's good. So if we carry on with the thank yous, then thanks to Tony and Brendan behind the scenes who are organising all of this. They don't always like to come onto the screens, but nothing happens without them. So all the emails, all this set up on StreamYard, this new platform we're using, that's all been done by STACS HQ, Brendan and Tony. So thank them. And thank you for all. This is the end of a long term, the end of a long academic year. And yet there's loads of computing teachers logging on, sharing, chatting. So thanks everyone who's given up their time this week for 1, 2 or 3 of the nights to come along and join in.
Yeah, some of the NPAs are definitely on my list to have a look at. I think data science is next on my list, but I never seem to get the time to do anything. It's just that.
How long is your list, Mark?
It just keeps on getting added to. Things just gets bumped down the list.
Yeah,
I'll probably retire before I empty it.
Well, that was great. So thanks, Dan. So we can start to look ahead, I think, to the next chat. So Sara's going to come on, and I think we'll maybe just stay online and we'll be chatting a wee bit about this too.
Hi, Sara. How are you doing?
Hi there.
Oh, and there's Debbie as well.
And Debbie's coming on to chat too. So actually, I've had a wee sneak peek of some of this, some of the things you're going to be talking about, because at we hosted the kind of the networking event that's actually organised down in St Aloysius in my school. And Sara had recorded a video and had lots and lots of good tips and shared lots of her experience about how she's working to close the gender gap. So she's from St Ninian's in East Renfrewshire, over Giffnock, going to be St Ninian's Giffnock.
Yes, that's right.
So we're really pleased that you're here, and we're going to ask a couple of questions and get you going. Have you got a slideshow as well, Sara?
I don't have a slideshow to hand, no, but we can get it.
That's okay.
That's okay.
No.
It's fine.
Be brave.
So maybe you could just start off just giving a bit of the context of your school, the department, the kind of the size of the school number.
Well, like I say, I'm Sara Jenkins. I'm a computing teacher at St Ninian's High School in Giffnock. And I am one of 7 computing teachers. So we have a rather large department. We have 1,800 pupils, approximately 1,800 pupils. So we are very successful in computing, but like most departments over Scotland, we do not have the proportion of girls that we have of boys. And it's something I have been really interested in since I've started teaching. I've been very interested in why, when we have such good girl candidates in computing, we don't have more of them. So when I started at St Ninian's, and I started in 2019, it was one of my things that I wanted to take forward. Obviously, COVID came along, and I wasn't able to sort of pick that up till we went back to school. A couple of things that are quite relevant in St Ninian's. One of the things is we get first year pupils, and we get them on rotational basis. So we have half of the year for half of the groups for half the year, and then we rotate to the other half a group. But what is more notable is that at the end of first year, pupils are asked to make subject choices. So we are sort of working against the clock, basically, to try and attract all pupils into computing and obviously compete against other subjects. But particularly, we would have to really act very fast if we wanted to get girls into computing. So that was one of the things that we had to think about when we were looking at how we address the gender gap.
Okay. Yeah, I've been in the rotation bit as well, and yeah, depending on when your choices are, you either win or you lose.
Yes, you do.
How do you find to get them interested in the topic, particularly maybe at the latter end of the year, maybe?
Well, at the latter end of the year, actually, I found that a bit easier. But what we decided to do was, when we started our club, we got in touch with Tony Scullion, who is absolutely brilliant. If anybody doesn't know Tony, it's worth getting to know Tony. She is the founder of Dress Code, and I found the website by accident and got in touch, and she there was nothing that she couldn't help me with or put me in the right direction. And once we had set up a very small coding club for girls, what we decided to do was we decided to target the primary 7 information evening. And by targeting the primary 7 information evening, we were able to sort of get involved with the girls at the primary level, knowing that when they came up to the secondary, they would only have 1 year of computing science before they would make their subject options. And some of our primary schools have been excellent with their teaching of technology and their skills and teaching the pupil the skills. So they were coming up and they were coming to this information evening and they were saying, oh, I've done a bit of this, or we've had a practice of Scratch, or we were using the microbits. And it kind of got them interested to realise that there was actually a club and they could maybe join that when they came to St Ninian's. So that kind of started the ball rolling. What I would say is my first bit of advice is get a really good team around you. So I'm very well supported in the department. I am the only female in a department of males, but they are all extremely supportive and extremely supportive of the girls that are in computing. And also I've got a very good PT who is extremely supportive also. And also, as I've mentioned, Tony, who is always on hand to ask questions and bounce ideas off. And that has been instrumental in getting the club up and running.
I'm on the flip side of that. I'm the only male teacher in my department.
Well, there's no problem with male teachers. In fact,
I'm the same in the middle of the rooms. I really am as well.
You talk to a lot of our pupils. In fact, we had a former pupil in today, and she's a software engineer, and she couldn't wait to meet the PT who was her teacher, and very instrumental, a man who obviously helped her on her career. So it's not purely about female teachers taking forward these things. It's about the males in departments as well that can promote this and basically support female pupils to support them on their path.
Out of curiosity, who were you in a rotation with? Because we were in a rotation with drama once. We found that was a bit, that's like chalk and cheese. But I guess if it was a close subject, it might be a bit more of a tough choice.
Yeah, well, actually, it seems as if the rotation-wise, we seem to be competing against design and technology, and we have a lot of pupils are between the two, and there are lots of sort of things which are very sort of crossover, particularly when they're looking at graphics and animations and things like that. However, the other rotations seem to be the sort of creative art and home economics and that sort of thing. And it's difficult as a teacher when you're only seeing one group and then you don't see them after Christmas. And it's trying to keep that going, particularly, for all pupils to keep it going and remind them that, computing science was something they did and they enjoyed, but also to get the girls to continue to commit to coming to club and to obviously think about taking it as a career choice or an option choice.
So I think your senior pupils as well, maybe, would that be S4, 5, 6? They've been a big part of your team.
Correct. My second bit of advice to you, and actually this is my secret weapon, is that I was fortunate enough, we have really amazing senior pupils in the school, and we started out with a sort of third year group who we termed as seniors, who were very, very happy to come in all taking computing, all happy to come in and kind of help with the first years, help them with any of the software we were using, help them with filing or anything like that. However, they have progressed. They are now going into 5th year. And I mean, I can't run the club without them. During the SQA time, it was a bit easy because it was me and maybe up to 40 pupils. And we've been in 2 classrooms at one point, and we've had laptops out and all sorts. The senior pupils have been totally amazing. They get a lot out of it, and actually a lot of them are thinking of a career in computing, and they get a lot out of it. It becomes a social thing for them. They develop excellent relationships with the younger pupils. Their social skills, they improve their social skills in terms of being able to tutor and explain things to them. And I mean, there's lots of things that they'll tell them that, I mean, I just forget or can't remember. And they'll say, oh, this is a quicker way of doing it, or why don't you try this? And they've been absolutely brilliant. We have subsequently taken them, Dress Code have had a couple of hackathons, and they have been the mentors at hackathons, and it's been a fabulous opportunity for them. And you've got to see particularly what it's like, for example, in companies that maybe take graduate apprenticeships and see what life is like for them once they leave school. So they have been really instrumental. And as I say, there is a lot of nonsense at the club. So they run the music, they choose the music type. We've got lots of chocolate, okay, which is another plus point. But it is a very safe environment for all the girls. They socially, it's a great social place for them. They're very keen to have it at lunchtime, and I have asked them would they like it at the end of the day that would give me longer or give them longer, but no, it's very much a lunchtime hobby for them, or a lunchtime club, and they enjoy coming and getting their lunch and going along and doing a bit of coding, speaking to the senior pupils, and just generally relaxing. So yeah, it's a great atmosphere.
Sara, I'm going to be embarrassed when I tell this wee story, right? So Tony was my colleague at St Kent's, and I didn't have to have anything to do with dress code. And now that she's abandoned me, and she's done a runner, yep. I'm now going to have to do dress code. So can you just, like, I mean, just tell me how does it work? What goes on in the dress code? So right. Like the kids, you said that they have lunch. You've said that there's seniors there. You know, like, so what is it that actually happens? Do the seniors make the tasks? What goes on, please?
Well, it's all about knowing your pupils, okay? So I've spent a bit of time. I teach some of the pupils. I have taught some of the pupils. There are some pupils coming to me I don't know. There are friends of friends coming. And it's all about getting to know the pupils and getting to know what they like. We have I would say 2 camps. We've got the camp where we've got pupils that come in, they maybe code at home. They're quite passionate about coding. They do lots of things in class, and they want to take that on further. And that's something that, you know, if they want to have their own dress code journey, as I would call it, then that's what I allow them to do. Equally, we've got other girls that come in and they just want to maybe learn something new. They want to learn, they've said maybe they want to learn how to create a website, or they want to learn how to, the 3rd year girls, the 2nd into 3rd year, they were doing a little bit of Python, and they were quite interested in that. Sometimes I arrange materials for them and get something prepared that they can do in the lunchtime just to get them started. And other times it might be that there's seniors that can maybe help them to get started on something. One of our 2nd into 3rd years had decided that she would like to teach them Python. She had been doing a sort of self-course in Python, and we've had that over the SQA exams, that she's been taking our 3rd years for a little bit of Python programming, and they've really enjoyed that. Some have asked, can they take that on more? Some have asked, can they maybe move and do something else? So really, we have a lot of things going on in the club, and it's quite fluid, and it's never always the same every week. Sometimes we base it around a theme. So, for example, if it's coming up to Christmas or winter, I might say, well, you know, girls would maybe consider maybe something to do with programming or code that's around that. Quite often there's a dress code competition. So there's, at this moment in time, there's a summer dress code competition, and a lot of the girls are working towards that. That's something that they want to do as well. So yeah, it really depends on maybe what type of year it is, time of year it is, what the girls are into, what they feel is, you know, maybe something that they would like to get involved in. We've been involved in cyber challenges as well. I mean, I know Darren's just been on, and that's something else that they were very interested in. So really, I let them guide us. But sometimes there is, I do have sort of little sort of mini lessons, if you want to call it that, that anybody that doesn't really know what they're doing, we can have a wee look at them and get them started.
What do you think they like the best in it? Do they like the lessons with older pupils? Do they like, or do they like the competitions, the chat? What is it they like the best?
Well, I would say they do like the lessons with the older pupils. I cannot emphasise how much they get from these role models, and I've seen it in the hackathons as well. That, you know, whilst there's adults or older people there, they get so much more out of the sort of senior pupils that are sort of they can relate to. However, we do have quite a few very competitive students, will I say. They really like the competitions very much, you know. So the minute I say there's a competition, it's yay, you know. So and they're all in. So yeah, they do like that. But as I say, it really depends on you know, reading the room. And if you feel that this is not working for them, then change it up and do something else. There's no harm in that.
Okay, we only have half an hour for lunch.
We only have 40 minutes for lunch, which is a very tight turnaround. And as I say, I did put out to the girls that did they want the 40 minutes for me is really quite tight. And it's the downside of that is things like physical computing, which I would like to do. So things like getting out Raspberry Pis and stuff like that isn't really possible. We've managed with like microbits, and we've managed with Make Code arcades, but they're fairly easy to set up, and the girls, once they know what they're doing, they can just take one and go with it. But it does actually reduce, you know, it makes it quite limited. However, as I tell them, they can be working on bigger projects and just come in every week and, you know. So as I say, it's really you know, it's dictated by them. It's dictated by them.
I might be in touch.
Okay.
Shashi had a question that was an interesting one. He was asking if the girls applied any of their coding skills, the things they've been doing in your club, to any of the other subjects. Have you been seeing them kind of like, you know, making something in Scratch or whatever, like for a geography project or something?
Oh, now that's interesting. No, some of them have actually, there's been a variety of projects, and some of them have been using, we used one of the things I started off with is just to get them familiar to saving and doing all these things and making sure, because some of them were coming in and actually they hadn't got to the rotation of computing yet. So they hadn't been, you know, they didn't have experience of, for example, animation, or we used Pisco, so we got them to create little avatars and things. And some of them have been using them in other presentations in the school. But what we did notice was that in a lot of the computing classes, that their programming had certainly come on leaps and bounds from anybody who hadn't been in the club, because they'd been spending quite a lot of their time getting some help from the senior pupils and moving on with that. So you know, some of the teachers in my department said, oh, I couldn't believe that this pupil had done this. And I said, yeah, I think they've had a lot of support from the mentors, and they've been sort of giving them new techniques and things to do. So yeah, I mean, it really has helped them. And in terms, I mean, they really have grown in confidence. I mean, we're now moving. That's them moved up a year now, and I spoke to them today. This was our final dress code, and they're all desperate to come back. They're all wanting to code. They're all wanting to code during the summer. They were asking me questions about how they get access to different things. So I mean, it really does create a buzz, and it creates a buzz in the school. And as I say, it's been really fantastic.
Oh, you stole my next question. I was going to ask, like, what's the reaction amongst the wider school, but you just stole the question from me.
I think it's a good question. One of my aims was to make sure that it kind of raised, computing was raised its profile in the school. It already had a profile, but we kind of raised it with the girls, and we are a very talked about group. We have had people now, I will get this question about boys wanting to join, okay? And it is very much a girls' club, purely because it's an area where the girls feel comfortable. They feel they're able to ask questions. It's a social thing for them. We do run other clubs in the department, and we do provide clubs for anybody at all. But this one is specifically for the girls, and I do say to the boys, and they do understand. They understand that it's for use of a term, positive discrimination, that we're trying to sort of bridge a gap here. But the girls are, as I say, it's a comfortable place for them. And when you see them in action and they're all buzzing and all excited and all talking to different year groups and things, it's definitely a place where they're happy coming.
And then numbers-wise, you're seeing that in option choices?
Yes, we are now. At the moment, in terms of our S2 have gone over the 25%. This is my kind of line at the moment. We are doing very well in all areas in the school. However, I mean, obviously we're making small steps, but every step is making progress, and the numbers are gradually going up. We have a new head teacher, and our head teacher is a mathematician, so that was one of the first things he told me, that he had watched and marked the progress that were going up as we got to school. It's not going to be a resounding change. It's got to be something that we have to work at, and it's going to be something that we keep working on year in, year out, and just make it accessible for the girls, and make sure that they are aware that there is a future and a career for them in computing science.
It's funny you mentioned that 25%, but that seems to be the bit that we kind of get to 1 year, then it dips down a bit, and then we get back up to that 25%.
We've been quite consistent with that. We're trying to go over the other side, and as I say, we've noticed we've just got over that with the second years. So therefore, we're hoping that will continue to progress through the school.
I thought I'd hit 50-50 this year, and one of the girls left.
I
was in my advanced higher. I was raging.
I know, it's always the really good ones that come up. I had one came up and apologised to me, said sorry, but I need to take so and so for you, so I need to go. She was heartbroken, which is, I must be doing something right.
So see the kids, what we do need to sell the dress code sometimes, which is it's not right. What other skills are you seeing? You've kind of touched on it, but what other skills are you seeing them getting? I'm assuming their confidence is going up.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say in terms of their confidence, in terms of their social skills, we have a kind of requirement of the club also that at some point through their time in the club that they will participate somewhere in the school to do something. So it could be that they do a competition. It might be that they get involved with parents' evenings. So we had a primary 7 information evening, which we had some of the girls there who were describing, explaining, demonstrating to both parents and primary 7 pupils what we do. Obviously, we have our subject choice evening as well, and we had a number of our second years who had chosen it from the year before. They came along and demonstrated the skills that they have learned, and obviously they're speaking to parents, they're describing things or explaining or demonstrating things to younger pupils, and it's really it makes them come out their shell. They're actually quite proud. Tony had given us all T-shirts, so they were all had a T-shirt. They all felt as if they belonged to something, and lots of the parents would come in and say, well, I've noticed on Twitter we've got this club, what does that involve? And they would explain it to them. So there are a lot of skills socially, in terms of, we have had a number of we call it pastoral support, might be pupil support, our guidance staff, who have put forward pupils who really enjoy computing but are maybe quite shy or maybe find it difficult at lunch times and break times. And they have come along to the club and they have fitted straight in, and they get involved. They might be quite quiet, but the fact that they're coming every week and they're part of something, that they like coding and they can do that while they're there. So that has also been an added bonus for dress code. And as I say, we accept any help at all. So we've got a number of senior pupils also who are great, very good like debaters. Haven't actually taken computing at all, and they decided to come to dress code, and they are very vocal about how important computing is. They've been learning a wee bit while they've been there, and they help us to put together anything that involves like talking in front of audiences, or you can notice they didn't help me today, but talking in front of audiences or participating in front of parents and things like that. So there's quite a lot of skills that they are getting out of it. I'm hoping that the senior pupils this year will get a Young STEM award, and I'm wanting to put them forward for that. They have organised so many things and been involved with so many things that that's the sort of next logical step for that. And hopefully, as our first and second year start to move up, they will become the new mentors.
It's funny, you've mentioned parents a lot. Shashi's posted a great question saying, how has the parent community responded to this? You know, often it seems that parents want to make the safe traditional career choices, which usually don't involve computing. Or do you find that you're starting to win the parents over as well as the kids?
Well, yes, we are. And we've had a number of parents have said, oh, I work in, would you be interested in? And that has been absolutely brilliant. So one of my next sort of targets for next year is or the next session, and I've put it in motion, is to contact former pupils who we had one in today, and also parents that have been in touch and said, you know, we might have something to offer you. And that has been brilliant as well. And it kind of, it's a network with the school community. But I mean, it's opening their eyes and making them aware that this is a possible career option for them also. So
cool.
That's fantastic. A lot of comments in the stream. I don't know if you can see them, Sarah, but
I can see some
really
of them.
Positive. Jacqueline, that way, I think we'd missed Jacqueline's question. Primary pupils can get access to dress code. Just sign up on the site, and
that's correct.
The younger the better.
That's correct, and that's another one on my hit list, to see what's happening in the primary schools, and maybe if we have a dress code club in our feeder schools, then it becomes a more natural progression for them when they get into secondary.
Yep, and one of your old colleagues, Mark Patterson, is posted in the
hi,
chat
Mark.
as well, so he's looking for some advice as well. So
no problem. If he wants to DM me on Twitter, that's perfect.
Excellent.
And that goes to anybody that wants to contact me, they can DM me on Twitter.
I like Ian's idea as well of us having a bigger event for dress code, a live event or something for all the schools. I know Tony's listening somewhere, but I think that would be fantastic if we could, because they see what it's like inside their school, but for it to be for everybody.
That's correct. That's correct. And actually, I don't think Tony has enough to do. So
absolutely not. No. She sits with her feet up playing with the baby. That's all she does.
She really does. No, that would be fabulous, an absolute fabulous idea. I think it's something that really everybody should consider. It has been absolutely remarkable, and I mean, I personally get quite a lot out of it. Also, it means the world to me, and I love being in this job, and I love doing that. So, it's been a wonderful thing to take on.
I did get an email earlier in the week from Anna Doyle, who does Ada.Scott Festival and the graduate apprenticeship scheme at Glasgow Uni. And Ada Scott Festival runs, I think, the first week in October, and there's going to be an event for up to about 100 places at the new Barclays campus in the centre of Glasgow. So any schools kind of in the west, you might be able to bring some pupils along to that. And I don't know if your senior pupils might be called on again.
We're already booked. We're booked. We're done.
There we go.
We're on the ball. That's the other thing with the graduate apprenticeships as well. It's about sort of knowledge for parents also, and knowledge for the pupils. That is another possible route into tech. So these events are brilliant, and I would encourage anybody to sign up for them.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time, Sara, tonight. Great to hear from you live. Again, thanks for the video that you've done for the networking event.
Thank
and
you.
just, when you hear the words confidence and, the buzz around it, you can see that there's so many good things happening in St Ninian. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I guess I probably need to get around to trying to do my own dress code club thing.
I'll get you an award just for you, Mark.
To be fair, I gave my Hopper Award out last year for the first time, and once my head of school gets back from a school trip, I'm going to try and convince the PA to make her sign the Turing Award one. Cool. And
so Patty is now coming online. Good evening, Patty.
Oh, hi everyone.
And you're going to talk about artificial intelligence, which is the topic, the hot topic.
Yeah. I'm so happy to be here with all of you today. I'm sorry. I live in Glasgow, but right now I'm in Amsterdam because I was invited to a Google event. Usually I have a bunch of screens in my desktop, so it's easy for me to share the slides, but today is not that day, so bear with me because I'm not used to have just one screen. So I'm going to share my slides if that's okay. Okay, I guess I'm going to share the screen, so I'm not going to be able to read the chat. So if you guys can let me know if there is any question.
Yeah, we'll deal with that for you.
All right, brilliant. Okay, let me share over here. Usually, yes, a lot of computer science in the background, but then this kind of things happens to me. Can you see it?
This is I think this is the first time I've been using StreetYard. So
just
Brendan,
click the present button and it should work.
Okay.
Tucked at the bottom. There we go.
That's working for me, Patty.
Yes. Can you see the slides?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, brilliant. Oh, actually, I can. You see only the slides, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, brilliant. Okay, so I can start. Yeah, so thank you so much again for having me. For me, it's really a pleasure to be talking to you, and I'm going to tell you why. But yeah, let's start. I'm going to talk about how to teach AI to kids at the school, how has been my experience so far, and yeah, I want to start, let me go over here, telling you a little bit about myself. So my name is Patty O'Callaghan. I know that I have a very Irish name, but I'm originally from Venezuela in South America. And I moved to the beautiful Scotland almost 6 years ago. I live in Glasgow, which I absolutely love. I consider myself to be a new Scot. I feel very lucky to have moved to Glasgow. I know that many of you might be asking, like, why would you move out of the Caribbean to Glasgow, to Scotland? But believe me, it's really a privilege for me. So my background education is computer science with a specialization in artificial intelligence. I studied artificial intelligence many years ago when it was not as popular as it is right now, when we were just a bunch of nerds at uni. But yeah, it's been quite a journey. At the moment, I'm the tech leader of the web team in Charles River Laboratories. I am also an ambassador for Women Tech Makers, which is an initiative from Google. And what we do is, of course, try to bring more girls and women into the IT field, and we do conferences. We have a group that is called Women Tech Makers Scotland. We do conferences, online talks. We do a lot of mentorship. All of this is run by volunteers and is free to access. I'm also an organizer of Google developer groups in Glasgow. We do quite about the same, but we reach students and any kind of many different backgrounds. But my favorite thing to do is, my very favorite, is that I'm a volunteer teacher at Code Club. I assume that a lot of you know about this initiative, and it's part of the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So the code club that I run is in Jordan Hill School in Glasgow, which is a school where my kids go to. So that's why I started there. And it's been, I think I have been running the code club since I think 4 years ago or something like that. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience there. I was also a teacher for undergraduate students back in my uni at home in Venezuela. So I have a little bit of experience. I'm not a teacher, but I have some experience at it, a little bit, but that's what I'm going to share. And if you scan that QR code that is on the slide, you can see all of my social media and my email. So after this presentation, if you want to reach out and maybe you have a comment, a question, you can get in touch with me there. So enough about me, and let's start. So here I want to show you a very interesting, I want to start with this. It has been very interesting opportunities for the kids at the Code Club. All of them are students at Jordan Hill School, and they have been being actually technical speakers in these conferences for the Google communities, which is actually very impressive, because having these kids talking about AI projects in front of a bunch of grown-up engineers, and I'm so proud of them. It's very exciting to see. So, for example, we have there Daisy. She's 16, and she did this. You can see it like on the screen. She did a very simple website with a machine learning model that is called the Q&A. And what it does is that you can add a bunch of text, and then you can ask questions, and the machine learning model will return a bunch of possible answers to that question based on the text. So she did this website called My Smart Study Buddy. And she did it by herself. And there is a way to work with machine learning that is very easy for them, as long as they have a working knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, just like the basics. Then the second one, it was a website for this guy. He's 14. He's a black belt in karate. So he used a machine learning model called pose detection. And what it does is that you can train the model to recognize certain poses. And he did that with, I believe it's kata moves in karate. They're very specific poses. And he created that very, very simple website that you see on the screen. And it was for the little kids on his karate group, and like for the beginners, for them to practice the kata moves at home. So it will like show the kata pose, and if they do it wrong, it will send a message saying it's wrong or it's right. So it was a really cool project. And then I don't have a picture of Louis presenting his project. He did an amazing, amazing job. He coded an application to take the attendance by every kid. You will have like a webcam at the entrance of the classroom, and every kid will stand in front of the webcam, and it will recognize the kid because of his face or her face, and it will take the attendance. Amazing application. He did a great job. Actually, we went to a conference, a Google conference in London, where I was going to be a speaker, and he came with me and he presented his work in Google London, and it was amazing. So you might be thinking, how did this happen, right? So I'm gonna tell you about it. So let's start from the very basics. So this is the way that I talk about this to kids that are maybe younger than the teenagers. Okay, so this is, let's start with that. Okay, So first, we have to know what is artificial intelligence and why it is important to show it to teach that to the kids. So if you're a computer science teacher, maybe you don't necessarily know all the details about artificial intelligence because it's a very wide term. There is many different kinds of implementing artificial intelligence. So it's very good for all of you and the kids, like to start learning the very basics, and then you can keep on working on the rest of the definitions. So of course AI is all around us, and I'm going to talk specifically about machine learning, because machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. There's many I don't know if that's the right way to say it, and I'm sorry, my English is not the best. I speak Spanish, but there are different types of artificial intelligence. So machine learning is one of them, and it's the most popular one. Everything that you use right now is probably machine learning in terms of AI. So that's what I'm going to be referring to, all right? So we use machine learning, when we are going through Netflix and we see the recommendations, or maybe Amazon, or maybe the feature in Gmail that move the spam emails to a particular folder, and so on. So it's important for the kids that they can be aware of how everything works regarding AI and how it's embedded in their daily life, and maybe they don't realize that. So that's why we need to teach the kids. And it's also, of course, having like a knowledge and a working knowledge of AI is going to be super useful for them, even if they're not going to be computer scientists. They can create their own models that maybe they can use in their own professions, or maybe just for fun. So we're gonna get there. So this is how I start talking to the kids about AI. So actually, I'm going to show you the very slides that I use. So first of all, I tell them, okay, so you are very intelligent, you're very smart. You use your brain to think about ideas, and you come to school to learn and to play with your friends. And if you see your friends, you know who they are, you know their name, you can recognize them, and you can recognize their voices. And when they talk to you, you can actually, you know what they're talking about. So then I tell them, what about if you're a dog? Right? And then I ask them, who has a puppy? And I ask them, do you train your puppy to do tricks? And I ask them, how do you train them? And I ask them then, if you're teaching your puppy a trick, do they learn right away how to do the trick? And do your dog follow the instructions all the time, or maybe sometimes it's not that good? So I ask them, can your dog recognize you? Can they hear your voice and recognize that you are, when you call their names? And I ask them, does your puppy understand English? So they start having this image, this mental model about what is it to train something, like training a dog, like teaching the dog how to do something. Because what we do with machine learning is quite about the same in a very it's kind of an abstract idea, but we are training the model, right, to do the machine to do what we want them to do. All right. So then I show them this, and I ask them, what about these things? Can we teach these things how to do tricks? Can they hear us, or can they see us? Of course, there's always people that can say that plants can hear us and so on, but that's not the case here. Is for them to understand that it's like a two-way, let's say, activity. You are going to teach and train something, and you're going to get a response back, right? So we can get a response back from objects, even though computers are objects. All right. Then I showed them this, and I asked them, what about this? These are also things. Can these things hear you or maybe see you? And can we teach them to do tricks? And then they will start realizing, oh yes, because most of them have these kind of devices at home. So they start saying, oh yes, I can talk to Alexa, and she replies. Or I can ask, I don't know, Google to turn on the lights and so on. So that way they can start understanding that there is actually an AI agent in these particular objects. And then I tell them, yes, they use AI. And we start talking a little bit about that. And then I tell them, we start talking about what is artificial intelligence, and that mainly we want the machines to work better and to be actually to help humans. And that is good. It's a good idea to introduce to them, because of course the let's say perspective that they have about AI is a little bit different than the one that we adults have, right? I guess that a bunch of you, we hear about AI, and lately in the news, maybe you have seen that AI is going to bring the extinction of the human race, and we think about the Terminator, but the kids, they don't think about AI that way. So it's a good opportunity to tell them that AI is there for as a tool to help us do a lot of different tasks, and to help humans to do to bring benefits to humanity. All right, so then we start talking that the machines use artificial intelligence to learn, to reason, and to understand words the same way we do, or not the same way. They try to imitate the way we learn and reason and understand words. And the way we do that is through our senses, right? And of course, we use our mind, we use our brains, we have a conscience that machines don't have. And conscience is a very tricky word to describe, and we still don't know exactly scientifically what is the conscience. But of course, there is a difference between humans and machines. But it's good to do that relation between our senses and how we use the senses to understand the world and make decisions, and how the machines have senses as well that are equivalent to our senses. So first I talk about perception, and usually, and I'm going to tell you this like a fun fact, when the kids, when they see this slide, especially the younger kids, they get a little bit scared, like they get like a freaked out by the robot, even though the robot has like a friendly face. And that is always like, maybe I have to change the image, and it's a friendly robot, but they get scared. So that's something it's kind of particular. So all right, we talk about perception, and I tell them that a robot using artificial intelligence can also see through cameras and interpret those images, and that is called perception, and it's the same as we use our eyes. Then we have machine learning. And of course, a robot can also learn just like we do. maybe we read a book and we learn and we can interpret a paragraph, and maybe we can answer questions over that test. So the robots can do the same, and the process that they use is called machine learning. And there's also speech recognition. So I tell the kids, okay, you can listen and you can speak. You can talk to a friend and you talk and you listen, and you, depending on what your friend is telling you, you can answer on one way or another. But a speaker like Alexa or so, they can also hear, and they can also understand what they're hearing, and that is called speech recognition. And usually they actually love, they laugh about the ears on the speaker, and it's funny. But on the other way, let's be honest, it's a little bit creepy, because we all know that these devices are all the time listening to us. And I bet that a lot of you, maybe you're talking about a brand of, I don't know, coffee, and suddenly you start seeing related posts, maybe on Instagram or something. So yeah, they're always listening to us, so we have to be careful. And this is something very interesting, because machine learning is all about pattern recognition in many levels. And I always tell them about, we do this exercise. So I tell them, for example, can you recognize the blue stars? And then I tell them, okay, why the blue stars are different than the other stars? And they can start saying that they are a little bit smaller because of the color and so on. And then I asked them, I don't know, about the pink flowers, and I asked them to name like different attributes of all of these patterns, or all of these images. And in that way, they can understand that every object has its own features, right? And sometimes we talk about the differences of a cat and a dog, and how do they know that a cat is a cat and not a dog, even though they have 4 legs and they are small and they have a tail and so on. So they can start understanding about what is an attribute, a feature, and how a feature can describe and help you classify stuff. All right. And then I tell them, okay, let's have a look at how they use AI every day. And we talk about, maybe you use Alexa or Siri, you have an alarm, and then you wake up, and maybe you can ask Siri, oh, how's the weather going to be like today? And that way you maybe use a raincoat to go to school. So they can start, maybe they don't realize that is AI. And that can like demystify, I don't know if that's the right word in English. But yeah, like to understand that AI is something that they use in their everyday life, that is not like a robot destroying stuff or whatever. Then I tell them, yeah, maybe your dad, when they're going to drive you to school, they have to see Google Maps, or to get, maybe they're going to a park and they use Google Map in the car to get to a place. That is also using machine learning. And I tell them about, and they love talking about the Tesla cars. I don't know why. Well, because they're pretty cool. I would love to have one. But anyways, I told them about the self-driving cars and the technology about it, and they get very excited, and they can start commenting on features that the car has. And then I talk about when they watch TV, maybe they watch Netflix and there are recommendations maybe for specific movies that they like, and so on. And we talk about that is AI as well. And they can say, Alexa, switch off the lights. And then I tell them like what we have learned so far. But what I want to show you today, and let me see if I can do this, is can you see this? I think, let me see if I can share this. I'm gonna share the screen. And this is the one. Okay, so the tool that I use with the kids, hopefully you can see this. It's called the Teachable Machine, and the Teachable Machine is a website, teachablemachine.withgoogle.com. It's a tool made by Google that allows you to create machine learning applications in a very, very easy way. And this is the tool that the kids at my code club use. They have used to create these projects that I told you at the beginning of the workshop, of this talk. So I'm going to do it very quickly because we don't have many time. And yeah, so you can do an image project to classify images, an audio project, or a post project, which is the one about that the kid with the karate did. But I'm going to use an image project. And the kids, they love to use the Teachable Machine, a standard image model. Okay, so let's say that I want to teach the computer to recognize when I'm happy and when I'm surprised. Let's do these two emotions. So I'm gonna write happy, and the other one I will say surprised. Okay, so you have those two emotions that we want to classify, and we have to give some samples to the computer so the computer can learn, right? It's like when you buy books for little kids, you know, the books that have images like this is an apple and this is a tree, and by repetition the kids, they start like getting the concept in their heads. So we need the images, and in this case the video, to show the computer what is my happy face and which is my surprise face. So that's what we're gonna do. So you click webcam, and you can do the same, let's say, with all of the kids. You can take 5 kids and you run this at the school, and they absolutely love it because the computer will recognize each kid. So let's say happy. So now I'm going to hold and record my face, like my happy face. Okay. So I'm going to smile, and that's it. I have 40 image samples. All right. And now surprise. Let me switch the cam, and I'm going to put like a surprise face. Super surprised. Okay. So now we have the training data, right? After you have that, you click train model. And this will happen. It can take more time depending on how many classes do you have, and how many images do you have per class. Okay, when the model is trained, you can test it, okay? And you see here the output, and it will classify. Well, right now it's like a little bit messy. It will classify depending on what it sees. So let's see if it works. If I'm happy, 95%. And if I'm surprised, well done. So we are actually using machine learning with this. And the cool thing is that if you click a sport model, it will give you the snippet of JavaScript code with HTML that you can just copy it and paste it on a website, and it will work. There is a way of using this using Scratch, for example, so they can create the Scratch projects, and maybe the game can do something depending on image recognition. They have done like rock, paper, scissors games, recognizing the pose of the hand. And yeah, there's many stuff that you can do. Another website that I highly recommend to you to have a look at is machinelearningforkids.co.uk. And you're going to find a bunch of resources there. But sadly, we don't have more time. I will be more than happy to tell you more about this. Actually, in Women Tech Makers Scotland, we're planning to run like some workshops for teachers on how to bring AI into the schools. So if you follow me on social media, I will be posting about that, I think in 2 weeks on my Twitter. Any question?
You've answered the first one straight away. It was going to be kind of how can we help to upskill and give teachers a bit more confidence to include stuff like this in their lesson. You know, it's what the kids want to do and want to look at, but we sometimes feel that we need a bit more help for ourselves first. So that's great.
Yes, we are planning to run some workshops because I truly believe that is very, very important. And I have talked with Tony about this. To bring AI into the schools in Scotland, we cannot be left, behind. And the kids, they are so amazing. They have amazing ideas, and to bring this technology to them is really awesome. But yes, the teachers, you guys need to be prepared. You guys need to understand what is AI and how to bring it to the kids. So that's why we want to run these workshops in person in Glasgow. We're just looking for a free venue. So if you know about it, just let me know. And it's gonna be free, but we just need a venue.
That sounds excellent. I'm sure could you do it in a school? Just a school classroom?
Yeah. As long as everyone can go and it's free for everyone to attend, we will be there.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be speaking to Tony and we'll hopefully organise something. That'd be great. And I've just posted a couple of links. As you were chatting there,
I can organize that with Tony. Yeah, and there is more tools that are very useful for the classrooms and very easy to use, like the Teachable Machine. Easy to use for the teachers and also for the kids. And small kids, like younger kids. Sorry, my English is a little bit funny sometimes. Younger kids and the older kids, the teenagers. So yeah.
Patty, some people saying that the University of Glasgow might be able to help you out with a venue. So I'm sure that's Tony or Brendan posting that. So
amazing. That will be lovely. We did the Women Tech Makers of Scotland conference in Glasgow Uni like 4 months ago, and it was an amazing venue. It will be great. We will be happy to be there.
I'd even try and convince my school up in the northeast to let me go. I like a good day out.
Well, you know what? Yeah, like we can organize it in Glasgow Uni, but because I have my work, right? But if we organize something during the weekends, I will be more than happy to go around Scotland. If it's a Saturday to give this workshop, I would love to. I love traveling around Scotland.
Well, if you're ever up in the northeast, I'm up in Aberdeen. Just drop us a shout, and I'm sure we could try and sort out something if we could.
Yeah, if you organize a venue, and just let me know, and I can travel. I do a lot of talks around Europe, so I'm usually just jumping around and doing talks and teaching people about AI. So I'll be happy to help. As long as you help out with the venue, that's the only thing I need.
The venue's probably the only thing we can help with sometimes. So yeah, I'm sure we could sort something out there.
So in my name in the video, Patineta, that's my Twitter handle. So if you want to get in touch with me, all of you, you can go there. And yeah, I can maybe you send me a direct message and I can share my email. So yeah.
We're given a little nudge that I think it's going to stop.
Time is up,
we get chucked out.
Thanks so much for connecting from Amsterdam as well, Patty, fitting us into a busy schedule. That was great.
Yes, I'm in Amsterdam because I was attending a Google event today, really nice. But I'm coming back to Glasgow on the weekend, so happy to be home soon.
Safe travels.
Absolutely.
And we'll just start to wrap that all up there, Mark. I think that was a really interesting 3 chats.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I missed last night now if it was good as tonight. Yep,
and there's the third night again tomorrow that I'm hoping to be able to jump into for bits of that. It's my wee boy's birthday, so we'll see
me and baby tomorrow, I think.
Excellent.
Cool.
Yep. So again, thanks to everyone who has organised, everyone who's attended, and in particular all the people who have spoken. I think it will just cut out at some point. So
I'm sure all the links will get posted on Twitter and such and everything else. And I think the videos are getting posted once they get edited and sorted out.
Yep, they'll all be on the STACS HQ drive, and I'm sure everybody's already signed up and on there already. But that's where we're going to, and really good information in there about the calendar, the competitions, the dress code competition you were talking about earlier on.
And for anyone who can't make it tomorrow, I hope you have a nice end of term whenever that is. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow as well.
Yep, and great summer holidays for you, Mark, and for everybody else.
You too.